Hi everyone! I have a little bit of a low energy day today and my office is a mess. You can see my studio is a mess. It's super hot. I'm having an ice cream, but I want to do some painting anyway. And I was running this workshop earlier this week where I used, let me put this down, where each of the participants had a little palette of gouache. I keep going quite long. And I always find it a little bit sad to throw away the old gouache because you can just reactivate it, add a little bit of water to it and then use it again. So I decided I'm going to use it for painting. I'm going to make a painting in my sketchbook with using all these little palettes of gouache. Yeah, so if you ever have any gouache left over, remember you can just add a little bit of water to it and then reactivate it and use it again. So I'll leave this messy room for what it is. Eat my popsicle. I'm going to do some painting, so let's get started. So I bought this washi tape a little while ago and it's actually a little bit thinner than what I needed, but for the sketchbook it works perfectly. You only need a thin edge when you paint in a sketchbook, right? So there we go. See if I can keep the page flat. I don't know if this is actually that practical. Hi. Actually, it'd be better on the other side because I'm right-handed. So, there we go. And I have a little bit of a plan of what I'm going to paint today. Let me make a sketch first. I can sketch in blue. So, there we go. I like making just a really rough sketch, not too detailed. This is from a photo from the Great Ocean Road in Australia, which I have really good memories about. It's where I met my other half. I was traveling there, backpacking. There we go. I think this might be enough for a sketch. So my plan for this painting is using up all these old palettes. Well, I won't use all of them, but using some of this old paint to paint this page in the sketchbook with. And I'll just show you how many I have. Like, it's literally lots. So this is from a workshop that I run. A lot of them have only a little bit of paint on it. This is one that I've used a little bit more often. It has a bit more paint on it. See, some of them just have thin layers of paint. Some have whole blobs. This one has lots of brown. There we go. So these are all the palettes that I have. And I'm going to make a very sort of bright and colorful picture. Lots of pinks and oranges. This is the plan, to make it really lovely and vibrant and bold. So whenever you have some old paint, what you can do is just grab a little like water mister or just drop in a little bit of water with your brush. So, and when you make your paint wet and you wait for a minute, it's absolutely fine to paint with again. So I'll pick some of the base colors, some of the colors that I am planning to start with. And yeah, let's see how far I get. So this one has some good greens. So it is going to be a bit full of my desk. This one is all a bit browns, but I want to go for bright colors. So this one is going to the side for the moment. This one's going to the side. Here, this one has lots of browns in it. I think that is going to the side. I don't need it. But this one has some really bright pinks, reds and pinks, and some yellow. So I might use that. So this one as well, some really bright pink. So there we go. I know maybe it's a little bit strange, but I think it's such a shame to throw away paint, especially if I can paint with it very happily still, and just use what I got. There we go. And I was listening to this podcast the other day, which I think is quite an interesting topic to talk about whilst I'm starting my paint. So you can see it's a little bit more watery than what gouache normally is. It's more like a water paint layer, but that's okay, because I've just added the water to it. You can always do a thicker, more opaque layer later. I was listening to this podcast which was all about coaches, and I thought it was really interesting. I never really think of myself as being a coach, but it described a coach as people that you learn from. I find the word coach a little bit cringe sometimes, because there's so many coaches out there, which is great. Some coaches are absolutely amazing, of course, but sometimes it feels a bit like everyone calls themselves a coach, even though they don't have that much to teach. Sometimes I know this sounds very harsh, but I think, yeah, I'm a big believer in coaches. I think it's absolutely wonderful to have like a business coach or a life coach or relationship coach, if like at the right time of your life. Or yeah, there's lots of different coaches that I really believe are really great. But for me, calling myself a coach always seems a little bit, it doesn't really quite feel quite right. And yeah, so I thought that was quite an interesting thing to think about, especially because in that lecture, in that podcast, coaches were referred to as anyone who teaches you things as an adult. So not when you're a teacher in university, but anyone who shares knowledge and teaches things as an adult. And in that context, I think I'm definitely a coach, which was interesting to think about. I love teaching my painting classes and art classes, and I get lots of joy of sharing my ideas and my knowledge with people. So maybe I should start thinking of myself as a coach. I thought it was interesting. I do teach people one-to-one sometimes, not very often. Most of my classes are in groups, and I have my community, of course. So it's usually for larger groups, but sometimes I do teach people one-to-one. So I've used up this purple and mixed up a little bit more by using this pink color. So some of this blue. Okay, there we go, a nice lilac pink. There we go. This sketchbook that I'm using is a specific watercolor sketchbook. It's a Moleskine sketchbook, which I think is sort of the most famous sketchbook range out there, isn't it? I really like them. I do find them a little bit pricey, but I don't go through them very quick because most of my Most of my sketches are loose paper. I did a loose paper sketchbook tour the other day. A lot of my pictures are on loose paper, and I don't use my sketchbooks for like really loose practice, usually more for finished paintings, which is also a little bit what I'm doing right now. So I wouldn't call this a sketch, even though I am painting sort of quite freely. I'd like not to mess it up, but if I mess it up, that's absolutely fine. It's all part of learning. So, and so my sketchbooks are sort of quite a nice collection of fairly finished paintings, usually, or drawings. I did buy a new sketchbook last week or a week before, where I'm going to paint, or where I'm going to make more loose drawings, and I'm going to use it more actually for sketches, like really the way sketches are meant to be. So I'll share that to you. I'll show it to you at the end of this video. Even though there's not that much in it yet, but I do think that paper is a little bit too thin to paint on. I like to use lots of water, and I also like to use markers and inks, and sometimes when you're using markers, it goes through the paper quite easily. So I have some mint green here. Mix it up with the yellow for these grasses. So after my video that I made, I'll put a link underneath to this sketchbook tour, which is not a sketchbook. I decided to actually buy a sketchbook for sketching, and I'm going to fill that up now. And I do like the idea of having all your artwork sort of together in one place. But I also like sketching on loose paper, because I often have little bits of paper left from commissions or from other projects that I like to just sketch on. Why buy something new if you can use what you have, right? I try to be sustainable. So I like this texture, this is fun. There we go. I purposely saved a little bit of space there so this can dry, but I feel like the rocks should be a bright yellow. So I have this yellow here. So before I add any texture or go into lots of detail, I just color block all the areas out. I finished filming an online course recently, which I put up on my website, which is a landscape painting course, and it's the first time I've filmed such a long course. I've done some skillshare classes before, and I have done individual classes that I then combined for people to watch as a group. It's the first time that I'm actually filming such a long course. And I'm a little bit nervous about it because I wanted it to do really well. And my goal, I find goal setting a little bit tricky sometimes, but I'm hoping to sell 100 tickets in the next 3 months, which is a lot. Like 100 people doing my course, it would be absolutely amazing. But it's okay I put the goal quite steep on purpose, because if it's sort of too easy to reach, then it's not a challenge, right? So my hope is that 100 people do my course in the next 3 months. And that would be absolutely amazing, because that would mean that that's my main income for the next 3 months as well. And That doesn't sound too difficult, does it? I think 100 people is a lot, but is... I have quite a lot of people on Instagram, a few people are following me here, I have an email list. So surely there must be people interested in doing my landscape painting course and developing your own style. It's all about painting on watercolors and gouache and finding your own style and painting landscapes. So I start really natural and very realistic, and I slowly move to bolder colors and bolder shapes. I quite like this, a little bit wacky. Some blue. I think I have lots of blue on this one, but the colors are a bit dark. Maybe this blue here. See, it's a little bit of a searching process, and I want some white as well, so I have some blue here. I think I can use this white. If I run out of white, I can always put some new paint on, but the challenge is finishing the paint that I have. So I want a nice light color blue. There we go. Do you see it? And this painting is perfect for a low energy day. I was saying this earlier, that I'm struggling a little bit today. And I just want to paint something that's fun and not for a client, but just my sketchbook. Having a little bit of peace and quiet. At the same time, I was thinking of watching a TV show whilst I did it, and I might put something on YouTube in a moment. There's a few YouTubers I really love watching. If you have any recommendations for a YouTube channel, please put them underneath. I always love finding new artists. I especially love watching art videos. People creating and people talking about their art journeys is what I like most. So if you make some of those, or if you have your favorites, please tell me. I really like Mini Small. I don't know if she's still on her semi-skimmed min. She might have changed the name of her channel to Mini Small. She was talking about that a little while ago. I love watching her art and her Phil sketchbook series. She makes beautiful paintings as well, very different from mine. So. I'm happy for these colors to blur in together a little bit. This is only the first layer. I'll go over here and add more detail. I think I'll probably go over there with some color pencil if I'm finished. So what color shall I do the beach? I feel like the beach needs to have a bit of a natural color, maybe a bit more of an orangey yellow, so I have some of that here. So. Let's take a moment just to let things dry. This looks like a strange sort of colouring in that moment, doesn't it? It's okay, we're not finished yet. So, there we go. We move to a smaller brush. I'm going to use this flat brush as well. So, let's see, I do like that texture that's been created here. Sometimes watercolor dries up in the most beautiful shapes and textures. It's something that I really love. I'm going to use this yellow. This is quite thick still. So, to start adding a little bit of texture to these rocks here. So, and I'm not going for realism today because I want to just have a little bit of fun. So, maybe some red. I find of all the colors, red is usually the hardest to reactivate. So I might have to use some fresh red. Let's see how it goes. I think there's something about the pigments in red that just don't like to absorb the water again. They dry up really crumbly and much drier. So, maybe I can add some of this mint green here in places as well. So, and of course these are absolute fantasy colors. In reality the tops of these mountains are covered in mosses and grasses and green. The sides are very sort of white, yellow, like really pale yellow white. And the water is blue, which it is. But in reality these colors are a little bit different. But I want to push my boundaries a little bit, and I think art doesn't always have to reflect reality. If you wanted to have a realistic picture, you could take a photo. We have so many different photographers out there. There's so many people who do an absolutely wonderful job in making photos. There's also people who make wonderful illustrations and paintings out of really realistic images. But I think art doesn't have to be realistic. Sometimes it just needs to reflect a bit more emotion. To me, sometimes it's more about the emotion than it is about realism. So, also I like how these colors blur in together. I find it a lot of fun and very beautiful. see the sky is very white. I'm going to make it a little bit like a wet on wet sunset. So a little bit of pink. A little bit of yellows. And then blue at the top, so some light blue. Mixes up together. A little bit of this pink in the water, maybe there'll be a little bit of a reflection. So I'm completely freestyling this. I use the reference photos of roughly for the shape of the mountains, just because I do remember them, but I don't really like the exact shapes. I wanted it to be fairly similar, so I know what part of the world it is that I'm painting. But everything after that is just completely made up. So I do think there needs to be some white in the water, so I'm using a flat brush. See if I can make this water look a bit more like sea by adding some water, some white in it. Quiet for a moment whilst I paint. I do find that painting really does give me energy. So a day like today, I really had low energy, but just by painting a little bit, I really start to feel better. What I'm missing is some shadows, and I think I'm going to use some dark blue for that. So I have some dark blue here in my palette. Add a tiny bit of black to it. You have to be a bit careful when you add black. So, and just see where I want those shadows to be. So maybe here. Blur that out with a bit of butter in a moment. Maybe there could be some shadows here, the bottom of the rocks. Contrast, a bit of shadow. A bit of water, I can just spread that out. I uploaded a few Zoom class recordings, classes that I've run for a group here on YouTube. And the quality of the videos is not the best. It's just reality. Like if I film something like this, I can have a little bit more time to make sure everything is sort of framed nicely and that you can see everything. But when I'm running a class, there's often movements and things happening all at the same time. But people still seem to really enjoy them, which is good. I was a little bit in two minds if I should leave them on or not. I think people are so used to having really great quality videos, even on TikTok or Instagram. But something where the sound is a bit off is quite off-putting, at least to me. It's nice to see that people still want to watch a video that's an hour and a half long, a full class. Naturally, I'm not going to publish all my classes like that because I want to sell tickets. But I also think it's really important to have things accessible and for people to join in from home at any time that they want. So I always have some free things on my website and here on YouTube as well. It's a bit of a balance, right? I was thinking of adding some colour pencil to this painting, and it is all dry, and I'm just going to add a little bit, just a few little hints of lighter colours. I have some light pink here, either one of these, maybe this one, and here dark blue, just to add a little bit of extra texture. So maybe here on the rocks I can add some lighter colours. In the sea, I can add a few lighter marks. Just for a bit of texture. Maybe here, shadows, I could add some lines. I don't think this picture needs much, to be honest. So maybe here in the grasses a little bit. So I think it might be enough. I'm going to say it's finished. Let me take the tape off. So I love the tape peel. I always find it very satisfying. Look how nice and crisp that looks. So this tape comes off really easily. There we go. A little picture of the Great Ocean Road. It's a wonderful area to drive or to walk. Yeah, really loved being there a few years ago. It's almost 10 years ago now, but 11 years ago. It goes very fast. But I hope you enjoyed this, and you'll find some time to get creative too. Make sure you check out my other videos. I have lots of sketchbook videos and tutorials and some art classes on here. You can find me on makingsandmusings.com. And if you stay around for a minute, I will show you the sketchbook I've been working on, as I promised in the beginning of the video. Here we go. This is my new sketchbook as promised. I like the fact that it's square, and I'm going to draw or paint something on the outside. I have not decided to do it. I've not decided what it's going to be yet. But I'm going to use it for loose sketches in ink mostly. You can see I've only done a few pages so far. I think this is the last page. So this is as far as I've gotten into the sketchbook. Really enjoying it though. I love to just doodle without making any sketches. Some animals, some people, some flowers. So there's much more to come of this sketchbook, and at some point I'll do a tour. So thank you so much for being with me here today. Make sure you check out my other videos, and I'll see you around soon. Bye bye!